Welcome to Trackside at M1 Concourse. My name is Blair Cummings and I'm your host. Today we're joined by Lauren Mendelson. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
We're going to be talking about all things automotive, and we're going to be talking a little bit about her life, and I see her as kind of a powerful woman in motorsports, and so we're going to be talking a little bit about her collection, the cars she loves, and a little bit about your life. So let's start off with, what was the very first car that you owned? Very first one.
1971 Datsun 240Z.
Oh my. So that happens to be another car that I love.
Yeah.
And you know that we have a couple of them here that are in pretty impeccable shape. So that's a great car. So stick shift and
right.
little sports car. And
Exactly.
That is great. Was that back in high school that you had this first car?
After high school, but yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
That's an amazing
wish I
car.
still had it, by the way. But
You still have the car?
No, I wish I did.
Oh, yeah. That would be a great car to still have. So when you think about kind of your love for car, where did the love for cars start?
Well, my dad was in the auto parts business, and as far back as I can remember, he used to take me to work with him when I was fairly little. And besides just taking pop out of the pop machine and playing with the junkyard cat, I used to go in the back in the junkyard and jump around on the hoods of cars and sit in them and pretend like I was driving, and it just felt very natural, and it was just really part of my day after that.
Wow, I love that story. I like. So do you have good memories? Because to me, that's a place of imagination. It's a place that anything is possible in a junkyard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot about, seal beams and copper wire and what things do, and how to work on cars a little bit myself, how to change tires as time went on.
Oh my gosh.
And then eventually my dad taught me how to drive when I was about 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one thing we were just talking about in the last segment, we were saying that I think a Detroit Motor City thing is that, not always do we need a driver's license. I think many of us were taught really early. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because of that, whenever my parents would go out for the evening, I would take the other car and go pick up my friends. We'd go up and down Woodward. We'd go to Burger King. We'd go to Oak Park Park.
Yeah.
And I never got caught somehow.
Now, would your parents have been upset if they found out about that?
Probably.
Yeah.
But so I always wondered, either they had no clue, or they always knew and they were secretly torturing me with that. Like
Trying to
so
have
I
you
would
keep
feel
it a secret.
guilty. Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's great. So so from very early on, you learned driving early on, and I think that's such a cool aspect of the story that, you've got this kind of wonderland. The junkyard is a wonderland. It's people's stories, their cars, right?
Yeah.
And you were immersed in that. So when did that beginning love for cars start to turn into a real passion?
Well, I mean, as I got older and I started driving with a real driver's license and, graduated from high school, and I can remember seeing certain cars go by, and for some reason I just remember saying, I'm going to own that one day. And somehow it just happened.
Yeah.
It just began to happen. Truly, it developed when I met my husband David, and we've been married for 31 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And when we were dating, we bonded over the love of cars and music, and nothing has changed after all this time. We're actually like a really big, wonderful team in both of those aspects.
That's great.
So when cars come out and we're excited about them, we usually are on the same page about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. What kind of music do you like?
Mostly jazz, things like that, but everything in between. But we're big jazz fans. We host jazz concerts in our home.
Oh my gosh, that's
and
great.
we go to events all over the place. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
I love jazz myself. My first degree when I went to school was actually jazz music. So I studied a little vocal jazz back in the day.
Nice.
Did that and then went into events, then automotive and marketing, and here I am at M1. Tell me a little bit about that first car, and tell me, do you have some memories or something with that very first car that what's the one memory that stands out with that first car you had?
Well, with the Datsun 240Z, my first memory, the most important part of that was I learned how to drive a stick shift back then. Never forgot.
Yeah.
It's literally like riding a bike.
For sure.
It's nothing. But a lot of time has passed since then, and really when I started pursuing my addiction for cars, when I was married to my husband David, when we got married, really the first car that we bought that we still have right now in our collection, I bought it when my mother passed away. I bought a 2003 BMW V8. It's called a Via Alpina Roadster. It's a Z8 that's tuned by Alpina. And I still have that car, and it's very, very special meaning to me because I bought it when my mother passed away. And even though this may sound crazy, it was something that she wanted me to do. She wanted me to take money that she had left for me and just have fun with it and do whatever I wanted. And I couldn't think of a better way to do it, and I know it sounds crazy, but so I did. And when I drive that car, I feel like I'm in this protective bubble. And I have her little monogrammed handkerchiefs in the glove box and in the door compartments, and I just feel very safe and
You're
protected.
closer to her at that moment.
I really, in a strange way, yes.
Yeah. No, I fully understand. I lost my mom just a year and a half ago.
Sorry.
And it was just a few weeks before Christmas, and she told me I'm not going to be here for Christmas, which was a moment I was not ever expecting to hear.
Right.
But through some circumstances, very similar to your story, she says to me, she says, "You need a new car. I would really like you to take and buy a car." And the circumstances where we had to do this quickly, so I ended up. I drive a Genesis G80, and my mom bought it for me. So today, this watch my mom bought me, and my G80 is my mom's. So I understand very, very much so that you're close to your mom when you're there.
Yes, and it's funny that you said that because when I got the car, I bought my husband a Cartier Roadster.
Yes.
It's the name of the watch.
Yeah.
And I wrapped it in a box and I wrote a letter or a little card to him and I said, I don't want to be the only one in the family with a Roadster. So I thought that was fun. He still wears it to this day.
That's great. You had a road story that is maybe difficult to talk about a little bit, but I'd like to talk about sometimes epic road stories are very joyous and sometimes they're tragic. But tell us a little bit about I guess it's a tragic road story.
Yeah, so the most memorable road story that we have, we were in a very rare automobile. We were in a 70th anniversary Ferrari GTC4 Lusso. So that was part of the 7-car livery. Each car in each group was modeled after a certain race car of the past. Ours was a 250 Testarossa from the 50s. And again, they're one in the world cars, and we were going to a breast cancer fundraiser at the Ferrari dealership at Colli Ferrari. And I remember saying, we're going to take that car because it had a red stripe that came down the top and circled around the grill, and it looked like lipstick to me. So I said, this is a girls' event, so we're going to bring this car. And it's called Uncork for a Cure. So I told my husband, I'm going to drive there, and you drive back because I'm going to uncork, right? So on the way back, we had just left. It was just after midnight, and we left the dealership. It was just a gorgeous, beautiful evening. It was a full moon. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. There was no other car on the road. It was just us heading down to Northwestern to get onto the freeway to go home. And I remember saying, as we were rolling up to a red light, I remember saying, I'm still hungry, let's go to Hunter House. And that's the last thing I remember. And I woke up, I guess you call it woke up, several days later in ICU on a ventilator. We were rear-ended by a drunk driver. It's going to be, here I go.
Yeah.
By a drunk driver in a truck. And destroyed the car and nearly destroyed me. I don't remember anything except what I'm told.
Yeah.
But and that was about 3 years ago. So I'm happy to say that I'm back.
Well, thank God that you're back and you're here with us. And thank God that you were spared from that. That is also something you and I share in common because I have unfortunately been hit 3 times. I don't even know how that's possible, but 3 times. One person that hit me at 60 miles an hour, completely asleep, had passed out and hit me at 60 miles an hour.
It is about the same thing with us too.
Yeah.
Without stopping.
And the one thing I remember from that thing is not remembering afterwards, and for a brief moment, it being the loudest thing I've ever heard. That was the last thing I remember. It's just this tremendous loud noise and not knowing really what was happening. But really, I think people need to take it seriously about if you're going to uncork or if you're going to drink. We do a celebration here at M1 about tying one on before the holidays, and we put a red ribbon on our car. And just for all of those watching the show today, you need to take it seriously about partaking. It's all good things. We can have fun and do our entertainment and enjoy ourselves. But these are real life stories. We're impacted by someone else's choice. And I have a friend of mine, unfortunately, that was killed in a car from a drunk driver. So just something we need to take really seriously and know that there's people lives, their wives, their mothers, their families out there. And so I'm very sorry that happened to you, but it looks like you are back and you're good.
Had a good ending, right?
Yeah, the happy ending is definitely there. So you have a pretty amazing car collection. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what kind of cars do you have and what's in your collection?
Well, for starters, I kept the Lusso.
Okay.
It is beat up. It doesn't work anymore, but I kept it because I wanted it to be in our building as sort of a testament to what we've lived through. And so it's a good reminder. So what do we have? So we have a garage. Although I love one here, we have a garage not too far from here. And we have some Ferraris, we have some AMG Mercedes, we have Morgan, Maserati, Lotus, BMW.
Yeah.
And if I'm forgetting anything, it's just because I'm forgetting or something.
Well, we had talked a little bit earlier about what your favorite, and I loved what your answer was. So if I asked you, what's your favorite make of car, your answer is what?
It's my favorite car is my BMW, my Z8. It's very important to me.
Yeah.
I think more than anything else, we have more Ferraris than anything else. We have a total of 11 Ferraris, one of which doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And they're all beautiful and gorgeous, and they're like personal to me. Like each one, I know their personalities, and I, for the most part, respect almost all of them except for one or two that my husband did, which are gorgeous.
Yes.
We have several AMG Mercedes. High performance vehicles as well. The Maseratis are beautiful and timeless. Yeah. The Morgans are super awesome. We have a Morgan Aeromax, which is one of 11 in the country. It's one of 100 in the world, one-off car. Ours is a 2010. That has the same BMW engine as my Z8, by the way. They borrow parts and transmissions from other cars, but they're the coach builder.
Yep.
The Lotus I bought for my husband on Father's Day. Never told him I was buying anything at all. Usually I tell him after I purchased it. This one we just put it on the driveway and hung a Father's Day card from the mirror.
Very nice.
Oh yeah. Of the Morgans, again, we have 2 3-wheelers that they started building again after the ones of the 40s during the war. So ours are both 2012. We have his and hers, and we drive around in those, and they're like spaceships. They're crazy.
That's cool.
Gosh.
You have a Monza too, don't you?
That's one of our Ferraris, yes. Yeah. We have a Monza SP1 that I'm very proud to say was here last summer for the American Speed Festival. Won a couple awards with that one.
I gotta say, I walked into the tent and it was a showstopper. I walk in and your attention comes to that car and you're like, immediately, I gotta say, I'd never seen that car at any show ever. So here's a car that's just absolutely gorgeous. And it's, in my world, that's like a one-of-a-kind car. And you come in here and you just look at that thing and it's just gorgeous. And it looks like it was custom designed for you. We respect
it. We picked everything out that's on
amazing.
It. They're works of art. There's no question.
For sure. That is a piece of art. Tell us a little bit about the car you brought in today.
Okay, so this is an AMG GT Black Series Project 1 livery. And the story behind this car is about 6 years ago, it was early in the morning, I was brushing my teeth and my cell phone rang and I said hello, and it was Dietmar Exler, who was the CEO at the time of Mercedes-Benz. And he said these words, "I have allocated a car for you." And I had just finished reading the article about the Project 1 that was to be coming out, and I knew what he was talking about. And I was overwhelmed, and I just said, "Oh, wow, that's really cool." Like, I didn't know what to say.
You're right.
And then we talked for a while about other things, and he told me he was moving to Atlanta once his son graduated from high school at the time, and blah, blah, blah. I talked about my family and whatever. I thanked him very much. I hung up the phone. I stood there for a few minutes like that. And then I called my husband while he was at work, and I said, "Guess what we're getting?" So it's been about a 6-year journey with the Project 1. We've traveled back and forth to Germany many, many times, met many cool, amazing other Project 1 customers, I'll call them, from all over the world. They're making 275 units. It is the Formula 1 car, the Petronas car, that they were at the time proposing to put a body on it and make a 2-seater passenger car from a Formula 1 car, which would maintain that integrity.
Wow.
So we went through these many builds of it, and I watched it evolve and watched it on the track and so on and so forth. And about 3 years ago or more, they announced it was going to take another year or two to produce the Project One, so they offered us the AMG GT Black Project One livery to the 275 customers. I think only 40 were built. I could be wrong, but that's what I've heard. They came in black or silver with the Project One livery paint, the Petronas stripe, the stars, just like you see this car. They're only for Project One customers. Nobody else can go to the dealership and buy this car. And I said, yes, of course I'll take it. It was more or less like a consolation while you're waiting for the Project One to be created and finished.
Right.
So naturally I said yes, which I'm so glad I did because it's so super awesome.
Yes.
And I'm especially glad I did because last June, the day after my son-in-law graduated from medical school, Germany announced not only were they now producing the Project One and starting to deliver them to European clients, but they will not be sending them to the US or Canada because of EPA.
Oh, wow.
Not for show and display, not for anything.
Not track only,
not
nothing.
even to look at.
Wow.
And so far that's still the plan, but in my opinion, it's never over till it's over.
Right.
We're number 159 build on that car.
Yeah.
And so our number hasn't come up yet. I still hold the contract, as do a lot of other people that I know. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
and in
we'll
the
see.
meantime, I'm thrilled to have this.
This is an amazing car, for sure. So we talked a little bit about some of the first cars and then some of your story. And of course, this car, you have an amazing collection. I got to see you at American Speed Festival, which was just absolutely great.
Oh, yes, where I brought my Ford GT as well.
Yes.
I forgot to mention our 2021 Ford GT Heritage. Ken Miles' car.
Ken Miles.
Which I love, by
Right.
the way. I'm so happy.
So tell us a little bit about that, because a car with a pedigree like that is pretty cool.
So that's another story. I have a million stories. So when they first announced the Ford GT comeback, they were building 500 Ford GTs. We saw it at the auto show. They showed it in like a dark red. I remember taking pictures from all angles. I was just blown away by it. And if you wanted to own one, you had to make a video and show it on all your social media, which at the time I really laid low. Like, my husband is a surgeon. He didn't want a whole lot of broadcasting to what we're doing, and it's mostly my doing,
Right.
because I'm the maniac in our family.
Okay.
And so now we have to sort of go out in the open. So I called Tony Gorkowitz from Tony Productions. He did our daughter's bat mitzvah videos, which were amazing. And at the time he worked for ESPN. So I called him and asked him if he would do our video for me to get the Project One.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, for the Ford GT.
Ford GT, yeah.
So he said, of course. So we lined up a bunch of our friends and we set up a whole thing like this in our warehouse with a bunch of our cars on display. And we began the interview, and we made a 6-minute long version, which we had to edit it down to 60 seconds each, which I posted them on Facebook, on Instagram, on whatever I could figure out to do it. We had testimonials from a friend of mine in New York who's a writer, who writes for Ferrari and Maserati, Jeff Colley from Colley Ferrari. All our Ferrari friends were there. They all said such great things about me and how enthusiastic I am and how much I should have this car, and so on and so forth. And so we just sat back and waited, and the first 500 were done. They announced who was getting it and who wasn't getting it, and I didn't hear yes or no. I didn't hear anything. And I kept saying to myself, did I do it right? I know I did. I got a confirmation that it was submitted. Suddenly they announced another 500 that they were going to do. Okay, so I heard back from Ford. They said, don't do anything unless you need to update any information on there, but we're going to send it right back out again. We have your video. It's going to go right back out into the thing. And I'm like, okay. And then there was another 350 after that they were going to do, so a total of 1,350 of these cars. And again, I didn't hear yes or no or anything like that. And they said, well, we saved a few people to throw in at the end. And I said, well, it would have been nice to know that, because I kept wondering.
Right.
Anyway, so I got a call that said I finally was getting one of the cars. And at this point, they had 3 models. They had the custom, the all-carbon, or the Heritage. And I said, well, I really want the Heritage. They said, well, we're only making 50. They're all spoken for. And I said, well, I guess I'll do the custom, then I'll just figure out how I want to do it. And then suddenly I was in Pebble Beach 2 years ago with the Monzas, and I got a call, and they said that someone gave up their spot, and they gave it to me. And I can't tell you, it just made my day. So now I knew I was getting it. And I mean, Ford versus Ferrari, they talk about Ken Miles in the movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just like, it just made my day. It still makes my day. I still have the biggest smile, and I love that car. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think it looks to me like a lot of the major American automotives are getting geared up again to do some big racing. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're making a comeback.
We are making a comeback.
Detroit's back. Racing. The Grand Prix is back downtown.
Yep.
I'm on the board of the DAC Car Club.
Yep.
We had so many tickets for special seating and everything. They're literally sold out in 5 minutes.
Wow.
Once it went online. So we're parking in the structure. We have shuttles going back and forth and everything. I can't wait.
It's going to be great. Good time to be in the Detroit area for the being connected to the DAC and, of course, the Grand Prix. A lot happening from Woodward all the way up here to Pontiac. If there was a future car for your collection, what is the future? What's on your bucket list for a car that you would like to see in your collection?
Well, I have to say that some of the things that were on our bucket list are actually coming our way.
Oh, you've got some stuff ordered.
We have some things on order. Yeah, some pretty cool stuff.
Are you willing to talk about it?
Well, I can tell you one in particular that I'm just so excited about, and I can't wait. It's one of 5 in the world.
Okay.
It's called the Zagato Mostro Barchetta. 4 are sold already in Europe, and I wrote a letter to Zagato, and they answered my letter, and we met, we Zoomed, and then we flew out there. We met them in Milan when we were at the Le Mans last year.
Yeah.
And they're giving me the car. And so while we were in Milan for the day, we spec'd the car, and we're just waiting for it to be produced now. It is incredibly gorgeous.
Amazing.
And it'll be the only one in this area, only one in North America, to be honest. I'm really excited.
Excellent. Are we going to see you at American Speed Festival this year?
Yes, I hope so. Yes, I plan to be there. So
I'm loving that.
Definitely.
That's great. Well, we are so enjoyed, Lauren, having you in today. Thank you for being on the show. You were a great guest, so thank you for being here. And I just want to show my appreciation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. In this section, we're going to talk about American Speed Festival. With me is Dave Sherman. Thanks for joining us. So tell me a little bit about the American Speed Festival.
Yeah, so this is a very unique celebration of performance and racing that really can't find anywhere else in North America. So our celebration is meant to cover significant automotive marks throughout racing history and heritage, and we really bring them to life in a very unique way. It's a 3-day festival. It starts out with 2 days on the speed ring, which is on our 1.5 mile road course, where you see somewhere between 70 and 80 significant race cars driving at speed around the circuit.
Wow.
And then on Sunday, we have our Speed and Style Expo, where there's another 200 invited cars, plus the race cars, all on display for you to get up and close to the car, as well as even in most cases, meet the owners of some of these fantastic machines.
So these are like museum pieces, but instead of just seeing them kind of behind the glass, you're going to be up personal to them. You see them, you get to hear them start, and then they're on the track?
Yeah, it's a very unique thing, the way we run what we call the speed ring here at M1. The cars are not racing side by side. This is not historic vintage racing. They're out there basically in single file. They're at speed. A lot of the drivers are really kind of exercising them and blowing the carbon out the exhaust.
Yeah.
And the only place we let them pass is down the back straightaway, so it's safe. So what we found with meeting with the owners of some of these incredible machines is now they have a way to actually put their baby, their piece of artwork, if you will, out doing what it was designed to do, which was drive at speed. So the first year we did it, we celebrated the Can-Am series with Jim Hall. And Jim, out of the Chaparral Museum, brought up 4 of the Chaparrals. And you know, we had over $1 billion worth of race cars in the tent. and some guys that have incredible collections and famous racers and people that have just been in this industry their whole lives. And when those chaparrals fired up, I mean, everybody stopped and gathered around. It was like a draw and call to action.
We also had an Indy car, and it was a turbine Indy car. Just tell me briefly about that.
Yeah, so that was a conceptual vehicle that ran, I think it was only 1 year in the IndyCar series. It was Lotus powered. And they proved, unfortunately for them at the time, to be somewhat unreliable. They didn't have a great, kind of race history.
Yeah.
But in the chronicles of building and engineering race cars, these things were so unique. And when those cars hit the track and you saw the heat plume rising up from behind the driver's head, and you saw what that was all about, it's like talking about being, the Roadrunner and the Coyote being strapped to the rocket.
That's right.
This
strapped
was it.
to the rocket.
This was really it. And you saw it live and in person.
Historically, the American Speed Festival has been $200, $150, and then last year it was $75. What's the price to come see American Speed this year?
So general admission is $25.
$25 to see this.
It's an incredible value. We've got all kinds of activities for the kids, the parents. The other thing that is very unique about Speedfest here at M1 is there aren't graduated tickets. If you buy a general admission ticket, you have access to the paddock where all the race cars are. You can sit in the grandstands and watch the cars go around our 1.5 mile long road course on the circuit. You're right up there close and personal as they're driving through our pre-grid onto pit lane. I mean, you are connected to the cars. And this year, we're celebrating actually 3 important birthdays. It's the 100th birthday of Le Mans. So we're celebrating Americans that ran at Le Mans. So it's the cars, the drivers, and the teams. It's the 70th birthday of Corvette and Corvette Racing. And it's the 50th birthday of the IROC series, the International Race of Champions. So we have cars from each of those eras and segments that will be here, plus cars that ran in the Endurance Championship. Vintage Indy is coming back with nearly 20 vintage Indy race cars that will be on the circuit. It's a celebration of everything.
So this is really a show that is a not want to miss, for sure. A not want to miss show. Hey, this is at M1 Concourse, American Speed Festival. We got vintage Indy. We've got incredible cars. They're going to be at speed on the track. And the ticket now, only $25.
And they're on sale now.
On sale now. On sale now at m1concourse.com. Check us out on the web. Buy some tickets. We want to see you here on track. Have a great day.